We talking about sports, get ball.
What it do, baby? Yeah.
What it do, you number one podcast listeners? We're back with the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. I'm your host, Premal Bot, and I am joined by a very special guest and someone who's in pain for his should have been Jeopardy host, now quarterback, now Joe Rogan enthusiast. He's very upset about it, and we figured we'd put him on the pod and have him face his demons, because why not?
Why not face your demons
Why not?
in a public space?
Grant Nordine from, you know him from Alternate Jersey, you know him from Grant Rants. You can follow him at Grant Rants Pod. You should follow his podcast, listen, all that. But Grant, welcome to the number one podcast in your headphones. Welcome back to another edition of Prem Brulee. Appreciate you for being here.
I'm glad to be here. I'm actually excited about this. I finally have a place where I can yell about this, and no one can tell me to shut up.
It's microphone therapy, we call it. It's going to be cathartic. So
exactly.
I feel like without further ado, we should get going into the subject. But before we get going, we have a very exciting and a very personal to you sponsor for this episode.
Hell yeah.
This episode of the Prem Brulee podcast is brought to you by Leaf and Soul. Leaf and Soul features handmade stickers, stationery, and more, all of which feature original and unique art. You number one podcast listeners can receive a 10% discount off all of your orders until November 26th using the code BRULEE10. That's BRULEE10 by going to Leaf and Soul's Etsy shop. You can find the Etsy shop at etsy.com/shop/leaf-and-soul. The number one handmade sticker and stationery spot for the number one podcast in your headphones. You love to see it. We only associate with greatness. And the owner, operator, CEO of Leaf and Soul just happens to be someone very special to you, Grant.
Yeah, that's my wife. She's great, and she's been working real hard this year. And, you know, it's a cool thing to do. Cool presents you can get just in time for Black Friday shopping.
Oh, yeah, I got one for my wife, and it's on her phone case, and she always gets compliments on one of her stickers. So,
that's amazing. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, shout out to Ari, and support her, support Leaf and Soul, and by doing that, you're supporting the number one podcast in your headphones, which I know you guys will all do, and use that code BRULEE10. This is very exciting for us. We got a coupon code with our name on it, which is a pretty big deal for upgrading. So shout out to Leaf and Soul for that. Anyway, let's get going on these topics because we got to get to your boy Aaron Rodgers, and I don't want to delay too much. So, I mean, we're going to breeze through fam or nah. The last few episodes, we've done kind of a word association, so I'm hoping you're game for that, Grant.
Always. My favorite thing.
All right, so fam or nah, first up. The Atlanta Braves won the World Series. It is their first title since 1995. They beat the Houston Astros 4-2. Some little background that I thought was fascinating. The Braves, as of August 1st, were 52-55, and they were 5 games back in their division. They lost 3 All-Stars midseason and put together a brand new outfield at the trade deadline. They are World Series champs despite having the 12th best regular season record in baseball. So, you got a word for this, Grant?
Yeah, sad. I feel like you and I are the only two groups that weren't cheering for the Braves, you being an Astros fan and me being a Mets fan who watched their season go up in flames to the hands of the Braves. But, you know, good for them or whatever.
Yeah, so I put down congrats, but whatever, and you sound that petty alert, baby.
Petty alert. Petty alert.
So this was up there on recent Brutal Series. The Astros bats just disappeared, and you had top to bottom of the Braves order scorching hot. I mean, Dansby, effing Swanson was hitting home runs, and we couldn't get a hit out of Alex Bregman and Yordan Alvarez, who are number 3 and 4 hitters in the Astros lineup. So it was just meant to be. There you have it. Braves won. They were the better team. I'm surprised it even lasted 6 games. Anyway.
Destiny's undefeated, man.
Destiny is undefeated. And those of you that are not into baseball, that is your clearest example of like why playoff baseball is so exciting and the season's so exciting, because you could really make moves even up until a couple months before the season's up and really change the course of the season. You had the 2 best teams in baseball not even make it to the World Series, them being the Giants and Dodgers. So anything can happen. Okay. let's move over to the NFL. I wanted to give you a couple recent headlines. We haven't got to do this on Prem Brulee recently, so I thought I'd get your word association real quick. Okay. Rams trading for Von Miller. Give me your word for that.
What? I
like that.
With what? I'm just amazed by the Rams. It's like they fuck drafting and developing. Picks are for trading, baby.
They said, fuck you to trades. My word's going to be Madden because it's like they're playing a video game with their draft picks.
Yeah, literally that's how I play Madden.
Yeah, exactly. What do draft picks matter? I can get Von Miller and add him to a defense with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. Who knows? Right. Von Miller still hasn't made his debut yet. He sat out with his ankle injury in their Sunday night game, but hopefully we'll get to see him all on the field soon. Okay. Las Vegas Raiders have been having issues. Obviously, we covered John Gruden stepping down, being fired. I don't know what the terminology was, but we covered that last episode. Henry Ruggs III was recklessly, severely speeding and under the influence of alcohol, I think twice the legal limit. He struck another car and killed a woman and her dog, I believe. And the Raiders released him. And then they had former first-round pick Damon Arnett posted a video with what looked like a machine gun and threatening to kill someone. That was posted, so he got released as well.
It's just a rough month to be
my word for that is, I'm going to say mess. I'll go with mess.
Yeah, mess is a good one. I would agree.
Yeah.
It's even surreal because I live in Vegas, right? And like you see the car accident that Ruggs was in, and it's like, oh, I know right where that is. Jesus.
Right. And it looked like a totally empty. I mean, they released the video footage of it, and it's like, it's heartbreaking because you see the one car pass driving normal speed, and then you just see this. I don't know what car he drove. It's a really nice one, just speed past, and all you see is kind of a flash in the video. So, thoughts with that woman's family, and hopefully Ruggs gets the help he needs. And over to kind of on the football field, the Cardinals have the best record in football. The Chiefs are just 5-4 in a jam-packed AFC West where all four teams have 5 wins, including the aforementioned Raiders. There are 2 teams that are 5-3 and 2 that are 5-4. And the Tennessee Titans have somehow lost to the Jets, but beaten teams like the Rams, Bills, Colts, and Chiefs. They did lose Derrick Henry recently and signed Adrian Peterson. I know everybody wants to hear about my fantasy team, but I lost a brutal fantasy matchup because of Adrian Peterson's cheap touchdown at the end of their Sunday night game. But I know Tiny Violins are playing, and you all are very concerned for my fantasy football livelihood. Anyway, I describe that as business as usual. Any given Sunday, it was probably another phrase for me for all that.
I'm gonna go with I'll go with Destiny again here. I don't know, Titans. I mean, listen, everyone will drop a weird game at some point in their season. Green Bay got slaughtered by the Saints in Week 1 and stunned everyone. The Chiefs have been almost lost to the Giants. Bengals and Titans have both lost to the Jets. I think bad teams will just have their weeks sometimes, but the Titans consistently are knocking off these juggernaut teams who were all like, that's a Super Bowl. It's going to be Rams Bills. It's going to be Rams Chiefs, whatever you want to say. And the Titans are like, excuse me, I actually have amazing depth right now.
Without further ado, I think the number one podcast listeners deserve we spend the majority of this time on You Played Yourself, so let's hit that intro, baby.
I'm petty as hell.
And
I'm super petty.
here we
Petty Le Pew.
go.
That's right, you number one podcast listeners. It's time for your favorite section, my favorite section, not my blood pressure's favorite section. You Played Yourself. And before we get to the main event, which is Mr. Aaron Rodgers, let's cover a couple other ones and save majority of the time for that because there's a lot to go over.
I'm ready.
I wanted to send a personal almost You Played Yourself to all of you out there. You guys really almost played yourselves having to watch the Houston Astros make World Series. They already made it to their 5th straight ALCS and 3rd World Series in 5 years. Y'all really dodged one there after they lost to the Braves. And the Braves are the more deserving team. We already went over that. But the Astros were any kind of semblance of some pitching away, and maybe their 3 and 4 hitters not going ice cold away from really pissing all of you people off out there. And officially making Hose Mad the most played song out there. Yordan Alvarez was especially painful. This man won MVP of the ALCS for hitting over 500, and I think he got his second hit of the series in Game 6, so that was just absolutely brutal. Bregman was shell of himself. He's gotten surgery in the offseason. I think it was on his hand, so something must have not been right, but yeah, that was brutal, but you guys dodged one there.
From the bottom of my heart, I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
Next up, on You Played Yourself, these college football playoff rankings have no rhyme or reason. I mean, this committee has just said truly a fuck you to losing. It didn't matter who you lost to or that you simply lost. Alabama is just skating along at number 2. Their loss was to a 2-loss Texas A&M team with their backup quarterback, and that's just being forgotten. And then this latest ranking has Oregon ahead of Ohio State, and their logic was that Oregon beat them head-to-head. Great. But then later in the rankings at number 6 and 7, they have Michigan above Michigan State, who have the same record, but Michigan State won the head-to-head, yet they're ranked behind Michigan. No rhyme or reason to any of this. And then we still have Cincinnati sitting here at number 5 on the outside looking in. If this isn't the year for a group of 5 team to get in, they pretty much might as well make it known, because this is getting ridiculous that they haven't even gotten a chance to be in the top 4. But this is a mess. I think everybody's been talking about how inconsistent this ranking, especially this year, has been. So we'll see. It's still early in it, but we'll find out how that goes. We already kind of talked about this, but you played yourself to the Rams draft picks. The Rams picked up Von Miller from the Broncos in exchange for a 2nd and 3rd round pick in the 2022 draft, which is the upcoming one. So in this upcoming draft, the Rams, these are their picks. They have a compensatory 3rd round pick. I'm sure they'll find a way to trade that. A 5th round pick of their own, and 2 7ths. That's it. Shout out to their scouting department. I guess they get the year off or something. I don't know what's going on. The Rams treat draft picks like they're playing video games, like we talked about. So you played yourself to Rams draft picks. They have hit on some late round draft picks, but they are going full on with that strategy that they don't matter.
Hey, you never know. You could find a franchise tight end in the 3rd round. It's happened.
I guess so. The recent example I have of that is Jordan Fuller. Shout out the Buckeye Jordan Fuller. Go Bucks. He's a 6th round pick, and they've hit on him. He's a starter for them, but man, we'll see how this turns out. And then a quick one to you played yourself to the NFL referees. These tauntings, roughing the passer calls are getting out of hand. This past week, they likely cost the Bears a Monday Night Football game. They gave the Titans a touchdown to ice the game against the Rams. They called a weak roughing the passer call on Aaron Donald. He basically just lightly pushed Ryan Tannehill. It wasn't even that late. They gave a roughing the passer call that extended their drive and resulted in an Adrian Peterson touchdown. So if you won or lost in fantasy because of that, you can blame that ticky-tack foul. But
just in case it was you who lost in fantasy. You guys, not Premal.
Not me. Yeah, it's purely for the sake of all of you. But
Great.
The main events here, we got to get to it. And I wanted to purposely save this for our resident Packers fan here, Grant. But before I do, I wanted to set the scene, and I want to give credit to where I got this information, being from NFL.com, ESPN.com, just doing some research of the background of this Aaron Rodgers saga, immunized versus vaccinated, what the fuck ever.
It's the pretty boys versus the petty boys.
On November 3rd, it was announced that Aaron Rodgers tested positive for COVID-19 and would not be playing in their game against the Chiefs. That game resulted in a 13-7 defeat as Jordan Love made the start for the Packers. News then quickly broke that the NFL had considered Rodgers unvaccinated since the start of the season. And being unvaccinated in the NFL means that he would have to stay away for a minimum of 10 days. So the earliest he can be cleared is November 13th, which is a day before their game against the Seahawks, and that's if he remains asymptomatic. Rodgers had an alternate treatment prior to the start of training camp. He petitioned the NFL for that treatment, submitted, I think what he said was 500 pages of research. He claimed he consulted a lot of doctors. When asked about doctors by Pat McAfee, he couldn't bring up a single one. Or maybe he considers fucking Joe Rogan a doctor. I don't know. But anyway, after lengthy back and forth with the league, the Players Union, infectious disease consultants by the league, Rodgers filed exemptions to be considered vaccinated. It was not approved. So then people started to kind of put two and two together. Rodgers wouldn't wear a mask in front of the press. He didn't meet with the press over Zoom like some of the other unvaccinated players did. And it was reported that he did wear his mask appropriately along the team facility and meetings, all that stuff, indoors in the facility, fine. Not amongst the media, though. And this past August, this is where it really got interesting. When asked about his vaccination status, Rodgers indicated that he was immunized when asked. Who? Most of us, rightfully so, thought that meant he was vaccinated. Clearly, he's a liar. Then, after getting called out, seemingly of his intentional use of the word immunized instead of vaccinated, Rodgers went on his favorite show, the Pat McAfee Show, to try to clear things up. I emphasize he tried to clear things up, but it was made worse. Some highlights or lowlights of the appearance. He said,
I realize I'm in the crosshairs of the woke mob right now, so before my final nail gets put in my cancel culture casket, I think I'd like to set the record straight on so many of the blatant lies that are out there about myself right now. I'm not, some sort of anti-vax flat earther.
Incorrect.
I am somebody who's a critical thinker.
Also incorrect.
You guys know me. I march to the beat of my own drum.
He claimed, first of all, I didn't lie in the initial press conference. During that time, it was a witch hunt going across the league when everybody in the media was concerned about who was vaccinated and what that meant and who was being selfish. He goes on to say,
and at the time, my plan was to say that I've been immunized.
Incorrect.
It wasn't some sort of ruse.
Also incorrect.
Or lie. It was the truth.
Nope.
And I'll get into the whole immunization in a second. But had there been a follow-up to my statement that I've been immunized, I would have responded.
I'm not some sort of anti-vax flat earther. No doubt I attempted shot at Kyrie Irving, but you guys, you're not even on the same level as Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie at least didn't lie about his ignorance.
I am somebody who's a critical thinker.
A critical thinker. Let me address that later if you don't, Grant, but...
I'll address it, trust me.
We're going to title this episode Critical Thinkers just for the hell of it, because...
Because we're the critical thinkers.
I march to the beat of my own drum. I believe strongly in bodily autonomy and the ability to make choices for your body, not to acquiesce to some woke culture of crazed group of individuals who say you have to do something. Health is not a one-size-fits-all for everybody. He continued to say that everybody on his team knew that he wasn't vaccinated. He questioned the rules amongst the media, because I guess it's required to be vaccinated amongst the media. So he said the following: if I test in the morning and I wear a mask in the entire facility, you want me to wear a mask just to shame me that I'm not vaccinated, to continue to perpetuate a story that I'm not vaccinated. It's not a perpetuated story. It is the actual story. In a room where the only way you can get in that room is if you're fully vaccinated against a virus that I don't have as an unvaccinated person. Not to mention you're sitting more than 6 feet away from me, in most cases 20 feet away from me. Where's the science in that? Where's the science in that says, oh, that makes perfect sense? So, in my opinion, that wasn't rooted in any science. In your opinion, it was not rooted in science. Got it. Okay. Every other protocol I followed to the T. Got it, critical thinker. You said it. And then, after learning he had contracted the virus, the 37-year-old said he consulted with
a now good friend of mine, Joe Rogan, after he got COVID, and I've been doing a lot of the stuff that he recommended in his podcasts and, on the phone to me.
He said, quote,
but I've been taking monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, zinc, vitamin C and D, HCQ, and...
Disclaimer, the FDA has not authorized or approved ivermectin to prevent or treat COVID in humans or animals. Fucking podcast host Joe Rogan. On treatments. And then...
The next great chapter in my life, I believe, is being a father. And it's something that I care about a lot. And to my knowledge, there's been 0 long-term studies around sterility or fertility issues around the vaccines. So that was definitely something that I was worried about.
Disclaimer. The CDC has said there's no evidence that any COVID-19 vaccines cause fertility problems in women or men. In fact, there's some concerns about the potential effect of contracting COVID-19 on male fertility. meaning the virus itself. Rodgers recently went on Pat McAfee's show to try to basically admit that he might have misled some people, but he sticks to his guns, blah, blah, blah. Did I cover everything, Grant?
Yeah. that's the large and tall of it.
I have a lot to say, but I want to give you the floor on this one. You're a Packers fan. You've rooted for Rodgers. You're on the football field, all this. I know this hit you a special type of way. So feel free to add any details I didn't cover, but you go for it, buddy.
Great. Let me just start off from a good distance here to make sure I don't upset all the listeners here. But from as far as I can, fuck you. Jesus. Okay. So obviously I've been a Packers fan since the 95 Super Bowl, and I've had my history of problematic fucking dudes on this team. And for some reason it always happens in year 17. Fortunately with Favre, it happened when he was in New York, so I didn't have to pretend to care. He just goes ahead and sends a dick pic to a reporter while his wife's dying from cancer. Whatever, he's a Jet now. Rodgers, fought tooth and nail to stay on this team. He was having a positive PR year for the ages after an entire offseason of there being wild speculation about his leadership, his commitment to the team, his diva qualities. He came in with a shotgun and blasted the Packers organization, got everyone back on his side, forced a culture change in the Packers front office. A team that's been so dormant and wanting to get people to come play for them, went out and signed 3 defensive players, 2 of whom are still on the team, 1 of whom won Defensive Player of the Month in October. Clearly, the wheels were turning in the right direction. He comes off a win of the Arizona Cardinals, the only undefeated team in football, down 3 of his receivers, losing his starting tight end in the game, and watching a guy they picked up from the Cardinals seal the deal. It was like, and then in his post-game interviews, we're all like, there's no way this guy's leaving Green Bay. He's having the time of his life. We're all over the fucking moon. And not 2 days later, we learned he's unvaccinated. He flat out fucking lied. He tries to mansplain lying to us, trying to be like, oh, if anyone would have followed up with me on my immunized comment, I would have said blah, blah, blah. Fuck you. Absolutely 120% fuck you. I love football. It's my favorite sport. Packers are my favorite team. Aaron Rodgers has been my favorite player since 2008. That's a long time of my life to love the dude. And to throw all that goodwill out the window for your own personal self-satisfaction and your quote-unquote critical thinking. That's another thing he did. He actually established himself as a wise and intelligent, critically thinking, socially conscious guy. He had led the charge against fighting racism in the NFL. He donated thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to people who were struggling with, suffering from, and losing businesses due to the coronavirus. His Jeopardy stint was raising money to support small businesses in NoCal that were closing or close to closing because of that whole thing. We all thought he was fucking with it. And for him to be like, actually, I'm the least with it you could possibly be, is maddening. Absolutely maddening. He went from a whole... I mean, the Packers are one of the 3 most popular teams in the league, maybe number 1, right? It's like them, the Cowboys, and the Steelers. And opposed to the other 2, the Packers actually win shit consistently. So they're probably the most popular franchise.
Whoa. Who are we talking about here?
I'm sorry. Where's all your division round wins, Premal, from Romo and Dak? My guy might lose in the NFC Championship game all the time, but at least he makes it.
See, what happened was we were immunized against the divisional round, but not vaccinated against the divisional round. So I think that's what happened there.
So it caught up to us in the end. It drives me up a fucking wall. And then Packers fans are those fickle fucking people on the planet. I will give the fan base a lot of credit because I thought being rooted in small town Wisconsin would make all the insane people crawl out. And to be fair, it did. But they don't have Packer logos in their avatars. The fan base, by and large, has been like, well, this man is only a means to an end now. We do not care what happens to him past this year. Pretty much the only thing he has left. Like we don't trust him anymore. Anything he's going to say is going to go down the tubes. Even Pat McAfee was fucking laughing at him when he talked about being buddies with Joe Rogan. And for someone like Pat McAfee to be like, oh, maybe I don't like those guys as much, it's like a huge fucking deal. The only thing Rodgers can possibly do to salvage his legacy at this point is he's got to get a ring this year. Don't know if he will. Don't know if I care if he does or not at this point. And then we all saw Jordan Love play against the Chiefs. And you know what? It was his first time. It wasn't great. It wasn't a start for the ages. He wasn't Mike White. But, that's how a lot of Hall of Fame careers start. He threw the same number of yards Aaron Rodgers did in his first start. We're not worried about it. We see that the franchise is in good hands. And Matt LaFleur clearly has what he needs in Jordan Love. So at this point, I publicly am washing my hands of this dude who I still think is a terrific athlete and a fucking bonehead. And he just needs to go away, never do a press conference again, slither off into the halls of irrelevancy, wear his fucking mask. Also, thank you, NFL, for fining him a measly $15,000. I'm sure he felt bad.
Oh, my God.
I'm sure he's like, oh, shit, my fucking $15,000. That's like a portion of my State Farm money. What am I going to do?
Don't hurt me too much.
Oh, and speaking of State Farm, also fuck you guys for being like, hey, we don't agree with what he said, but we stand by his right to say it. And it's like, oh, cool, my favorite talking point of all time, the I hate what you say, but you should be allowed to say it argument. At the risk of sounding too woke and cancel culture-y, which, by the way, isn't a thing, Aaron, I think that we should be regulated.
He hit the buzzword like bingo in that.
He's like, I'm not a right-wing nut job, but I am going to say everything every right-wing nut job has said since fucking March of 2020. Like, Jesus Christ. And he's like, I'm not trying to be a political figure.
I think I said the only thing I agreed with is that, when I presented him with the research, they looked at me as if I was some quack. I was like, that's the only correct thing Aaron Rodgers said in that.
Yeah. Wow, look, the NFL made the right decision. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Can we also talk about him saying, I brought 500 pages of research? Like, my guy, were they 500 Facebook comment sections? Like, what do you fucking mean 500 pages?
I would love for someone to challenge that and like, okay, show it to us. Let's see. Let's have it fact checked. Yeah. If you're really about that research, let's see what it is.
I can promise you that I've done more research on the two Rodgers alternate jersey timelines I've done for my show than Rodgers did researching the fucking vaccine. And that's the whole kicker. I sincerely don't believe Rodgers is a right-wing nut job. I don't think he's an any-wing nut job. I think he's one of those enlightened centrists or whatever who's like, oh, politics are above or below me. I don't need to worry about it because I'm rich and white, which is correct. Yeah. He doesn't need to worry about it, and he can do hippy-dippy bullshit like eating clay or whatever the fuck he does for his immune system now. And, whatever. It is your body. It is your choice. But also, it isn't your choice at all. When hundreds of thousands of people are dying on the streets and you flippantly dismiss all of that stuff and say all the anti-vaccine talking points, you rule out every positive thing you've done to combat it. It takes such a small fucking moment to undo everything you've built. And no matter what you say, no matter how you plead, no matter how you say, oh yeah, my feelings are hurt a little bit by the reaction, fucking good. I hope you take the time to self-reflect and get your shit together, you asshat.
So, congratulations.
You don't get to just say whatever you want in this subject. It's genuinely detrimental to a lot of people who listen and look, right or wrong, people look to athletes for that. So the minimum we're asking you to do is to not open your mouth about something you don't know.
Yeah, or don't pretend like you know what you know. People think the freedom of speech is I should have the freedom to say whatever I want without any consequence. And then when they get consequence, they're like, I'm being canceled. The internet's gone too far. Whatever will I do? It's like, you'll fucking adjust. Exactly. For the first time ever, audiences have the same stage and mouthpiece that the performers do. The cancel culture isn't a new thing. All these people have always been uncomfortable with bullshit, and now they have a direct line to you to tell you about the bullshit. And if you can't handle that, you're fucking weak. I hate Tom Brady with every fiber of my being. The dude's vaccinated, the dude never responds to the mob, and he just fucking says all the right things all the time, and he has 7 fucking rings, and I hate hate him, and I respect him more than my favorite fucking player. Which, by the way, we're moving on from Aaron Rodgers as my favorite player. This is now an Aaron Jones household until further notice.
All right.
He is
I was going to ask that question.
He is my son. He is a very good boy. We are sticking with him for the foreseeable future. If we re-sign Devontae, well, he's vaccinated. I know that for a fact. If we keep him, he can be my favorite. But right now, this is a sweet boy Aaron Jones home.
All right, I dig it. That's what I wanted to hear I just have one thing to add to it, and we'll move on and kind of start to wrap up this episode. But I just wanted to put a bow on this episode title, calling it Critical Thinkers. Just imagine the audacity for you to call yourself a critical thinker, then thereby implying that the billions worldwide who've gotten vaccinated aren't critical thinkers. You're listening to a podcast host. We're listening to doctors, scientists, epidemiologists, and most of all, we're listening to the data. But yes, please tell me why grown-up barstool equals critical thinking. Just because you go against the majority doesn't make you a critical thinker. And another thing, I think I've talked about this before. Doing your own research, it's not even a valid phrase. Because let me tell you something. Somewhere between 45 to 55% of scientific research is behind a paywall. I'm going to go ahead and assume people aren't going to pay for that. The general public. The other thing I'm going to go ahead and assume is that the average person might not understand what that scientific article is saying. And the reason I know that is because I was a science major and have been reading scientific material, and some of it's still confusing to me even. So the average person who's never read one before isn't sifting through that and isn't going to understand it the way it's meant to be. So you doing your own research is not even research, because research implies a level of quality of data, peer-reviewed, published in scientific journals, checked with colleagues who are also in the field. So nothing about what you're doing is research. What you're looking into is probably your cousin's high school classmate who had a meme they shared on Facebook. That's not considered research. Let's stop using that term so willy-nilly and stop using the phrase, I'm doing my own research, because we don't think to ask our doctors when they prescribe us medication over the counter, what's in that. So now all of a sudden we want to be, quote, critical thinkers about what's in ingredients of a vaccine that's life-saving. And we're going to go ahead and assume that a scientist, all the brightest minds in the world working on this vaccine, thought, no, you, Mr. John Doe or Jane Doe in middle of nowhere America, they're targeting you. These scientists from all over the world thought, how can I get John or Jane Doe? How can I mess up their life? Let's mess with this vaccine that's going to mess with them. Give me a break. You're not that important, okay? Let's stop using this shit so willy-nilly. And fucking critical thinker, give me a break, man. How much do you have to spit in people's face by a whole 45-minute interview? I mean, you couldn't have said anything more incorrect. Literally, the only thing he said correct was that we do think he's a quack. Thank you. Fucking quack, Aaron. All right. On that note, do we feel good about that cathartic experience, Grant?
Yeah, I feel lighter. I just wanted to.
Yeah, there we go. I gotta let that go, right?
I've been thinking about it for a while, I mean, I think it's just the culmination of everything that's happened this year and all the people who've let us down, whether it be politicians, athletes, celebrities, your aunt on Facebook, it's just I'm gonna just piggyback one last thing on you here. The critical thinking thing annoys me because there are people out there, and I'll lump you into this one here. I think folks like yourself who are in the medical field, or just normal schmucks like me, have exercised more legitimate critical thinking, and that should be heralded more. This phrase gets thrown around so willy-nilly by anti-vaxxers and doing your own research. You have literally all the information the world has ever known that fits in your pocket or on your wristwatch or in your glasses, and you choose to use those tools to find utter bullshit to justify your opinions. Your research isn't research, it is confirming biases. A critical thinker seeks out information to change their mind with the intent of being correct and accurate and making the best possible decision. 500 pages of research sounds like a lot, but then you consider the months and thousands of pages of scientific research that went into creating the vaccine. All Aaron Rodgers would have really had to say, if he wanted to keep his fucking dumbass beliefs but keep his goodwill, and say, hey, I didn't get vaccinated because I learned from my doctor that I have an allergy to an ingredient in Pfizer and Moderna, and the success rate of Johnson & Johnson spooks me. We would have all been like, that's weird, that's probably a lie, but hey, we'll go with that. But no, he went the complete opposite bold, like, batshit route. And, you know, I just, I consider myself smart, and I hate saying that because everyone who says they're smart isn't. But, you know, I feel like if you listen to a doctor, you have made the most intelligent decision by choosing an expert in a field, you know? So just do that.
We seek that all the time without realizing it. All of a sudden we have to act like we're medical experts. No, that's what you trust people who are in the field to do.
We make something a hot button issue and then we run with it.
Just like I wouldn't trust myself to do any kind of plumbing work. No, you go to an expert for something like that. It's the same concept. Like, we want to boil it down to simplified things. It's just as simple as that. I'm not tackling replacing my roof. I'm going to call someone to do that. I don't know a thing about being a doctor. Despite me being in public health, I don't know a thing about being a doctor. So I'm going to trust someone who is in that field. It's as simple as that. And the idea that you would trust podcast host Joe Rogan over tons of medical experts you could go to is frankly disheartening. I mean, it's disheartening at best, but then to double down and call yourself a critical thinker because you went against the grain, I mean, that's not what critical thinking is. You already just outlined what critical thinking is.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And on top of everything, cancel culture is fake, by the way. Aaron Rodgers will still have $1 million paying job. He only got a small fine. If he chooses to leave Green Bay, his status will not affect him. He will still play in Pittsburgh or Denver or wherever the fuck for millions of dollars, and he'll be fine. Joe Rogan's been canceled like 20 times, and he's still the most listened to podcast on Spotify. Yeah. Like whatever. No one who's ever... Like, Dave Chappelle got canceled for being transphobic, and he still gets to have the special on Netflix and have meetings and say stupid bullshit. No one who's ever been cancel cultured has truly been canceled. Like, shut the all the way fuck up. You are being held responsible for your actions and you're choosing to not be that thing. Like, it's redonk and a half, my guy.
All right. On that note. On that critical thinking note, let's move over to who you got and what you feeling. And this episode, I wanted to lighten it up a little before we go on to what you're feeling. We just wrapped up one holiday and Halloween, and we're heading into another. So, I got a two-parter for you.
Hell yeah.
Okay, candy corn, good or trash? And give me your best Thanksgiving dish. Go.
Candy corn, good? As a critical thinker, I have done a lot of research on candy corn. I love candy corn. I've always loved candy corn. Does it taste like wax? Yes. Is the wax delicious? You betcha. Best Thanksgiving dish. Oh man, I'm gonna be basic as hell, but I'm I'm a mashed potatoes guy. And I'm a doctoring mashed potatoes guy. You put some butter on that shit. You put some fucking herbs and spices and deliciousness in that. Oh yeah. God, I think I'll visit God. He'll come see me in the mashed potatoes. It's so good.
I do dig that. Okay. Candy corn, absolute trash. Like, I cannot emphasize enough how trash it is. Like, I can't imagine someone would pick that candy out of all the available candy. That's Halloween themed or not, it makes no sense.
I've eaten a whole bag of it. I'm not going to lie to you. I've had a whole bag of candy corn to myself.
Wow. You could just probably poop out a candle to use with that.
It saves money.
Yeah, no way. No way is that. It's absolute trash. The only acceptable place for it is in the trash can. It's like someone telling me their favorite candy is Twizzlers. I'm sorry, it's incorrect. And best Thanksgiving dish, I'm a stuffing guy or dressing because I don't ever stuff in the bird. It's always outside of the bird, so I think it's called dressing to a lot of people. But stuffing, dressing, whatever you call it, that's my number one. That's my favorite part of the Thanksgiving.
I love stuffing. Oh,
I know.
Now I'm
like,
hungry.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to. It's like I've arguably like turkey's the lamest part about that meal. All the side dishes make it for me.
I'll agree with that. Turkey is a hard thing to make super delicious, but all the cartoons made it look so delicious because they make it all brown and smoking. Never seen a turkey actually be like that.
I know. I've had some good ones for sure, but it's like, man, that person they literally woke up the crack of dawn to make this turkey that we're eating the same as if it was like anything else that you would have cooked. It's like, it doesn't match the effort to get it. And then sometimes people slave over it all day and it doesn't even turn out good. So I don't know. I've never been in charge of the turkey, and rightfully so. I don't ever plan to be.
No, yeah, fully, yes.
I contribute with the side dishes. Anyway, let's move on to what you feeling. I'll go ahead and go first. What I'm feeling lately, two of my favorite shows are back on TV officially, Succession and Yellowstone. Also, it's getting to be about that time for Oscar season. I know you're a big Oscars guy. You love those movies, Grant.
I like how you roasted me for an in-joke we had in our group chat.
Yeah. You're big. Grant's a big Oscars guy. Big Oscars expert and guy. He loves those movies. Does not think Oscars bait is even a real thing.
Every single award the Oscars has given out is fully warranted. There's definitely not only three good ones ever.
That's how Grant feels over here. But yeah, mostly this is about Succession and Yellowstone. If you don't watch either of them, Succession is on HBO Max. Highly recommend it. Yellowstone is on Paramount. It's a very good show. They often show marathons of it on the or if you have a plug for Paramount Plus, that's where you can find that show. Two of my favorite shows that are currently still on TV. Maybe Better Call Saul once that eventually comes back, but those are my two. What are you feeling lately?
Well, hey, two of my favorite shows are back. Look at that. A little bit different.
Yeah?
One of them is called Joe Pera Talks With You. It's an Adult Swim show. It's live action. It is the third season just started this past Sunday or Monday morning, depending on how you view 12:30 a.m. But it's the most relaxing, lovely show on television. It is just a man named Joe Pera talking to you about whatever he's interested by, and he's been weaving this really delightful world in the small town of Marquette, Michigan. Like I said, third season just started. It is kind and heartwarming and genuinely very funny in like a not cruel kind of way. I've vented about this show on my own podcast before, so I won't go too in depth. But hey, listen. Everything sucks, but Joe Pera Talks With You doesn't. So if you ever just need to like unwind and listen to something real nice for 10 minutes, that show, mwah, chef's kiss. There's also a show I've been really enjoying for the past couple of years, but this year especially, called Cake. It's an FX show. You can see it next day on Hulu. Cake, for the last like 5 or so years, has been this major network TV show that specifically highlights new voices in scripted comedy. You have people doing animated shows, testing waters on that platform. You see people doing live action sketches, all that sort of thing. It's a lot of fun. It doesn't always hit, to be fair, because you're basically seeing a lot of people make their soft pitch for you on a nationally televised network. But this season of Cake has 2 amazing short-run shows on it right now. One is called Swan Boy, which is written, directed, and created by the amazing and insane person Branson Reese, who's one of my favorite comedians working right now. And the other one is called Poorly Drawn Lines. And if you've ever followed anyone who likes webcomics on Instagram, you've probably seen this art style. But those two, very funny, and we need to watch these shows so they can become bigger shows. And Cake is just a champ for making these new people stand out for an audience they would never have normally.
I love it. All right. You know, we like to wrap up each episode, you number one podcast listeners. It's time for Too Much Sense, so let's hit it. All right, so my too much sense for this episode is to move with good intentions, meaning move with good intentions for all the people around you, and you won't have to live with regret in your relationships. Now, the outcome isn't guaranteed. You won't always have the best relationships, but what is guaranteed is your peace with how you handled those relationships, and that goes for friendships, you know, significant others, what have you. But as long as you move with good intentions, you won't have any regrets with how those relationships end up. And that's my Too Much Sense for this week.
I love that. That's some good stuff, Premal.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Well, you number one podcast listeners, that does it for another edition of the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. I've been your host, Premal Bot, and I want to thank my guy, Grant Nordine, for joining us.
Thank you for
on
having
this
me.
episode. Grant, tell the number one podcast listeners where they can find you, where they can listen to you, please.
Hell yeah. You can check out either of my podcasts. One is called Rants. It's available literally everywhere. The other is called Alternate Jersey. Depending on if you're into my personal opinions, which I'm clearly so good at articulating, as seen earlier, that's Grant Rants. If you're looking for my sports fan fiction, where I reimagine the biggest moments in sports history, that's Alternate Jersey. I can be followed at Grant Rants Pod for the Instagram, and you can find me at Grant Nordine on Twitter for everything else. Lots of cool shit happening on both of those places, so if you check me out, I'll be your best friend.
Yes, can confirm. My guy Grant, thank you again for joining me on this edition and providing your microphone therapy as a Packers fan and sports fan in general and well-informed person.
Oh, thank you.
An actual critical thinker instead of the way Aaron Rodgers defined it. But I want to thank you. I want to thank you, number one podcast listeners, for tuning in. You know the drill. Like, share, subscribe, review. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and we will talk to you on the next edition.
I am somebody who's a critical thinker,